to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Hex and I'm in Los Angeles for the Electronic Entertainment Expo, otherwise known as E3. I've registered for all my press events, I've got my little armband thingies, but all that starts tomorrow. Right now, I'm going to do a bit of sightseeing. Tiny hands. Well, press conference number 1, and it's Microsoft. That's why I'm so green.
Attention, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2011 Global Media Briefing.
Will also support Connect through voice recognition.
Are you here to kill me?
Of course not.
We're here to take you home.
Optimized for close combat.
What up? What's up, buddy? Thanks for having me, Cliff. Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Let's finish it.
Look, it's Peter.
Follow me.
Duck waterfall.
Lightsaber on.
So much of what I know I learned from Sesame Street. I learned the letter B from Big Bird. I learned to take care of my body from Cookie Monster.
Blue 42! Jet hike! Stop happy, man. You're killing me.
I am a million miles from home. I'm walking away. I can't remind your eyes, your face.
This isn't the first time that I've come to the stage at an E3 press conference with an elephant in the room. And I want to apologize both personally and on behalf of the company for any anxiety that we've caused you.
I ain't worried about it. It's part of the game.
We're going to have PlayStation move on Bioshock Infinite, and the exciting part is we're just starting to get our head around what that can mean.
These throwing stars might not seem as accurate or as powerful as your bow, but what they lack in power, they certainly make up for in speed.
You have this terrain mode where you can just make mountains and lakes out of using both the touch panels.
Conferences out of the way, and they've given me a pretty good idea of the games that I should be checking out. But you know what? Stuff all that. I'm going to check out Assassin's Creed Revelations.
Again.
Revelations completes the trilogy of Ezio. If you remember at the end of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, Desmond is sort of left in a coma. He's put back in the Animus to sort of keep him stable, keep him from falling too deep into a coma. The Animus, the way it's structured is, you might remember the White Room from previous Assassins. He goes right through the White Room because his consciousness is just too weak, goes right down to the sort of low-level Animus that we call the Black Room. It's sort of a safe mode. Much more powerful, but like not very user-friendly. So what this does is it really takes shape. It takes the sort of like subconscious memories from Desmond's past and shapes the world. This sort of allows him to enter the memories of Ezio to sort of complete sort of this sequence of his life that leads to a nexus point where the destinies of Ezio, Altair, and ultimately Desmond align. This is the sort of nexus point that we want to reach in the game.
It's always exciting to find out which city the game is going to be set in the next game, and you've arrived at Constantinople. How did you come to that decision?
Essentially, we chose Constantinople for two reasons. First of all, it was the hub of the world at the era. You know, ever since the ancient Greeks up to the Romans, to the Byzantine Empire, the Ottomans, it was sort of the center of the world for like, about 1,000 years. So everything sort of like led to that city. Plus, Constantinople is sort of like, the city is literally split in half. Half of it is in Europe, half of it is in Asia, which is a really cool metaphor for Ezio meeting Altair. So I think this will be a game that will have a richer core experience, and the narrative, I think, will be more strongly linked to the actual game.
So today, welcome to the world of Wii U.
This is an example of how you can have one game, but two totally different experiences. So we'll start you out with a new controller.
Oh, I see you. I'm coming for you. On top. That's fun. Is that us? Yes! Oh, I'm playing too. Wait, was that me? Who won? We did.
I'm gonna try to get away from all four of you.
I can't find you.
I have not moved at all. I'm still in the same spot, going in circles. She's in red.
Stop it! She's cheating. I think it's really clever the way they've incorporated the Wii U with the Wiimotes. You know, whoever's playing on the Wii U has a completely different experience with a different screen to the people that are playing on television. Somebody's staking out the star, I can tell. The games I've been playing aren't actual games. They're just little demos that they've created so that I can have that experience, but I don't know, they feel a little bit unbalanced. Whoever has the Wii U seems to have either an unfair advantage or an unfair disadvantage. So it'll be interesting to see if they're gonna improve this when they make actual games for the Wii U. Success! Quick hug.
Our third game on the platform, and it's the same team as worked on Oblivion and then worked on Fallout 3, and now we worked on this. So we've learned how everybody works really well together and just how to bring the world to life. You know, it's an Elder Scrolls game. You can go anywhere you want, do anything you want, be who you want. So we just sort of take that to the next level. But then also just add in a ton of detail, you know, from the tiny little plants, the fish in the streams, all the way up to the top of the mountains, and then just making the world come to life. You know, with each game we've sort of learned tricks of how to stream the world in, because we know we're going to render everything, or you can go anywhere you want. So knowing that up front, we sort of designed the game taking that into account.
And you've overhauled the combat this time around as well.
Yeah, we just wanted to make it feel much more, brutal, and like you're more part of the combat. And then also, you can now dual wield any one-handed weapon, and then also you can put magic in both hands. So really lets players just play the game, and the combat sort of, however you want to play, the game will adapt to you.
And dragons have made a return. We saw some epic dragon battles. I mean, that's good classic fantasy. Do you think fans will respond well to that?
I think so, yeah. I mean, as we've gone along, the dragons continue to surprise us with what they can do. They're totally unscripted events, and they're in the world like any other creature, but they're also a key part of the story. You're Dovahkiin, Dragonborn, so as you play through the game, you sort of discover that you have the ability to speak the language of the dragons. So the dragons are actually, when they speak, when they roar and shout, they're actually speaking their language, and that's sort of a key part to the story as you go through. So had to take into account like where they are in the world, what the terrain around them is, and then what their skills are, and make sure that the dragons can adapt so they don't just fly around and you can't actually hit them, that kind of thing.
Come see this.
Gifts beyond measure.
I need one of these for my living room.
Destiny yet unreal.
The Link in Skyward Sowrd is definitely older than the Link that you've seen in Ocarina of Time. He's more of a teenager. Another really interesting component to the characters in this game is that not only is Zelda not a princess, she's actually also childhood friends with Link, and they share a very close relationship from the very beginning of the game. This game is set very far back in the timeline of all the different Zeldas. I do view Link in some ways as someone might view a son. And I see him as someone who grows during the course of his journey. I want to see him turn into someone anyone would be proud to call their child, and just in general turn into a really cool guy. I see that growth as a big part of his character for me. On the other hand, Zelda is the sort of character that I want people to strive for, to fight for, and in that sense feel affection for. That's how I view it. However, this time in Skyward Sowrd, one sort of interesting additional fact, Zelda has been designed to remind me of someone I had affection for in my own personal past. There's a little bit of that in there as well.
イメージに近いです。
Battlefield 3, you've got the new Frostbite 2 engine. What kind of challenges did you face in creating that for the game?
Well, it's actually the other way around. We actually started to design the game and came to the conclusion that we want to build something that you could argue is the next generation of first-person shooters. And we didn't have the technology to do it, so we needed to build an engine from scratch, more or less, to be able to do that. So we took, we've been building it for more than 3 years now to be able to get to this point where we can actually show it off and actually prove to people that it actually makes quite a big difference what the engine does to the game. In general, it does everything from animation to lighting, audio, destruction, scale, everything.
And is there a particular feature with this latest Battlefield that you're most looking forward to having players experience?
I think the experience in itself is what I want people to take away with them when they play the game, because the experience of playing Battlefield 3 is quite different from many other shooters. It's not only one or two gimmicks, it's not the locations, it's not the vehicles, it's not the the brilliant animation system. It's actually the emotion of being on the battlefield that I think people actually pick up when they play the game.
Hail to the king, baby.
What you've come to know as NGP, our next generation portable, is officially named PlayStation Vita.
It's really cool. It's utilizing a lot of elements at once. You've got your front touchscreen, your rear touchscreen, dual thumbsticks, face buttons, D-pad, shoulder buttons. I mean, there's a lot going on, but it's really fun, especially with a game like Little Big Planet, which I'm playing right now. Each level you'll incorporate different elements that you'll have to try and work out which, and you kind of start to learn, with the patterns and everything. You know that's going to be front touchscreen, rear touchscreen, and you can see it when you use your finger on the back. It comes up with my little fingerprint there. Weight-wise, it's about maybe about the same as the old one. It's good, but it feels good. I mean, the dual thumbsticks are awesome. The touchscreen, it feels weird at first, sort of taking your thumbs off the thumbsticks to then touch the screen, especially with the back touchpad, but I think you get the hang of it. It's good. I really like it. Hello. Yeah. Well, I've had my fun with Assassin's Creed, but just for you, Barjo, we're going to take a look at Batman. Come on.
Without a shadow of a doubt, Batman has the greatest range of villains, the best rogues gallery of any character. So it's, from our point of view, it's amazing to be able to pick from all these great characters. And the story we wanted to tell was Batman going into Gotham, fighting against all of these super criminals, all working and pushing in their own direction. And we thought that was the most interesting story. So that was great because we could use lots of different super villains.
Just couldn't keep away, huh? Can't say I blame you.
Big exclusive announcement, Catwoman, a playable character. She looks awesome. Of all the characters that you could have chosen to go with, why Catwoman?
Catwoman, the choice, the creative decision to go with Catwoman as a playable character was a really interesting one for us because when you're playing as Batman, you're always on the side of the kind of righteous enforcer. You know, Batman has got this very rigid moral compass. He's always doing the right thing. So to create a playable character that's maybe a little bit more dubious, a little bit more driven by criminal intent, such as Catwoman, really allows players to indulge their darker sides a little bit, to take a walk on the wild side and get involved with Arkham City's kind of underworld in a way that Batman never would.
Come to Kitty.
Probably the biggest thing that's been completely revolutionized is the way that Batman gets around. So we've worked a lot on the grappling. You can run and grapple, you can grapple while gliding, you can grapple boost, so you can actually boost off the top of buildings without touching them. And when you're really good at it, you can kind of cover the whole of Arkham City without even touching the ground.
This is gonna hurt.
Barjo, you're not Batman.
I merely want what's mine. Give me that back.
A particular goal for Uncharted 3 was to make the game more open and a bit less linear. Have you achieved that, do you think?
Oh, we feel like we have. We're feeling really good about it. I mean, it's really great when you've got a good, strong game engine and a game design because you can then build on it. And so that's what we've done. I mean, we have added in some new stealth moves for Nathan Drake so that players who love to sneak up on the enemies and take them by surprise can do that in new ways. Another thing we've added a lot to is his bare-fisted melee combat. You know, the ability to get up close to an enemy and just slug it out with them. We put in lots of new moves, polished the animations, made the control scheme very tight, and also added in little environmental effects, like if Drake's in a kitchen, he might grab up a frying pan and give the enemy a whack around the head with it.
Man, that was close.
Now, who do you think should play Nathan Drake in the Uncharted movie? Wow. There's a petition going for Nathan Fillion to play him.
There is. I mean, we're big fans of Nathan Fillion in the studio, of course. I mean, you know, we are big fans of film and of television, and I think everyone at Naughty Dog would have their own favorite character. I don't know if he's around here, but I've always thought that Nolan North, who plays Nathan Drake in the video games, would make a fantastic silver screen Nathan Drake.
Going down there without some hardware.
Go talk to that rug merchant we just passed.
Well, guns, weapons.
He's not really a rug merchant.
Oh.
Shepard warned us they were coming. But we didn't listen.
Some of the feedback we've gotten from fans in Mass Effect 2 was that they really wanted a lot of the RPG mechanics back. So, you know, we brought back weapon modification, so you're going to be able to take your rifles, you're going to throw them down on the table, you're going to be able to do a lot of modification to them. But not only going to just add stats and be able to, you know, tweak here and there, it's really going to change how each of those guns reacts and allow you to make choices one way or the other on how you actually play the game and how you actually interact with your weapons. Another way that we're going to be making big changes is like the actual character customization. So rather than just simply adding points to powers, you're going to be making choices on how you want to actually use the powers that you like the most. So things like combat mastery is one of the things we showed today, where you could have to decide, do you want to do more damage, or do you actually want to be having more influence on the actual conversation outcomes?
Was it quite an emotional experience, even just watching the demo? Was that really a major goal for you guys?
Absolutely. We really wanted to really instill to players, the emotional impact of your choices. And I think we're getting a lot better with it in the way that we're kind of using digital acting. And, we're really writing to try and be as emotionally impactful as possible and emotionally engaging as possible.
We need a plan to stop them. We fight or we die. That's the point.
So is this definitely the final game in the series? And if so, do you think it's an adequate conclusion to Shepard's story?
So while it's the end of the trilogy, I think that the whole Mass Effect universe is really ripe for other stuff. While we're focusing on the end, and we really want it to be we want to tie up all the loose ends. I mean, it's a hugely epic game, so we're really going to be happy with the ending, but we also want to make sure that there's still room in there for other stuff. I mean, stuff like Mass Effect Galaxies and other games. So.
I can tell you is the best and the longest and the meatiest we've ever produced at Epic. It wraps up a lot of story threads that have been hanging out there, a lot of great satisfying moments. Can't tell you who lives and who dies also, but also we have Horde mode returning. It's Horde 2.0. It's got boss waves, it's got fortifications, bonus objectives, things like that. Also it's cash based, so you get cash when you kill Locust. So when you get into Gears Online multiplayer, if you haven't played Gears before, if you have no achievements and everything like that, for the first 10 or so kills, you get a little bit of extra damage. You can take a little bit more damage. It's our way of kind of guiding new players into the online experience. And let's be honest, the people who are really good, the pros, they'll win, right? But we want the little guy to still have a shot.
And do you have a favorite feature of Gears of War 3 that you're most looking forward to players' experience?
I love Horde 2.0, and I love the fact that we finally have mechs in the game. Part of the original vision of the game was mechs versus monsters, and that's what we're finally achieving.
Witnessed the birth of a man. A vegetable. No. A thingamajig.
Rayman, 25 years. Did you ever expect the franchise to be continuing this long?
No. No, definitely no. And that's a game I designed, I programmed when I was 17. So you don't imagine what things are going to be 1 year later, when you are so young.
You could have taken this game anywhere. You could have gone open world. Why the choice to make it a 2D platformer?
I think it's then, as a player, in 2D you can really focus on the platforming and cooperation with the other characters. At the same time, it allows us to display the real drawings of the artists, so it's giving a special touch to that game.
And we heard some of the dev team were sort of involved in doing voices for this game. Does your voice feature at all?
Not yet, but that's... Oh, yes, it is. It is. In the trailer, we have this big pink beast, which is doing a kind of... Oh, that's me.
We have a question we ask most devs. We want to know what the first game was that you ever really fell in love with.
Okay, for that you will have to turn your camera, because one of the first games I really loved is the one from Eric Chahi, Another World. You have to... He's there. Yeah. You have to come in.
All right, come in. It's a special moment.
Yeah. I never say that to him, but that's true. No, really, I discovered two games at the same time. Zelda Link to the Past on Super Nintendo and Another World. And I was at Ubisoft and I was playing those games at the same time. And they are very different and at the same time they are very immersive. Thank you, Michel. Oh, thank you, Eric. No for cheese.
It doesn't take the most powerful nations on Earth to create the next global conflict. Just the will of a single man.
Now, this is Sledgehammer's first Modern Warfare experience.
Yes, it is.
Big shoes to fill, a lot of pressure.
We put the pressure on ourselves, sure. We constantly want to make a better game. But yeah, having the MW3 across your shirt will put in a little bit of extra pressure on you.
Describe the setting for Modern Warfare 3.
It takes up hours after Modern Warfare 2 ends, which is DC is burning, Task Force 141 is either dead or on the run, and the eastern seaboard of the United States has been taken over and battles rage across it. We first pick up with a Delta team in Manhattan when there's the Russians have invaded Manhattan and taken it over, and we're starting to push them out. We're finally pushing them out of America, but the war is now picked up in Europe. So we go into all the major cities of Europe, even go into Africa and even some of Russia. So this is truly a global conflict.
One of our qualms with Modern Warfare 2 was that it was just a little bit short, but we love the game so much, we want a bit more of it. Duration, roughly, for Modern Warfare 3?
God, it's so hard to tell. I got to be honest with you. We've tried to make a longer game, and I believe it's a longer game. I know the levels are huge and they're jam-packed, and so I believe it will be a longer game.
With Modern Warfare 2, obviously there was a bit of a controversy with a particular level in that game. Is there anything that you think are going to raise any concerns with the media in general with Modern Warfare 3?
We've already heard some when we were, in the UK. I'm sure they'll find something. When you set out to make a game, that is not your intention. Like, at least it's not my intention, it's not theirs. You just do what creatively comes to mind, what works really well with the story that you've developed. I have no idea what will turn into a controversy. I hope none of it does, but I'm sure something will. We'll get blamed for something.
The songbird is truly terrifying.
Elizabeth.
Promise me.
I will stop him.
No. That is an oath you cannot keep. But promise me that if it comes to it, you will not let him take me back.
Previous Bioshock games have been set in the underwater city of Rapture, but this is a completely different setting set in the air. Is this like a prequel or?
Well, after we were done with Bioshock, we really felt like we had finished with Rapture. We told the story we wanted to tell. So we weren't done with Bioshock, though. I mean, we felt like we had more to say in the Bioshock universe, and that Bioshock is really bigger than Rapture. And so we threw everything out, and we said, you know what, let's just create something completely different. And we started just kicking around ideas. What do we want to do? What's exciting to us? What do we want to think about? And Bioshock is really about a lot of different things. I mean, it's about people who take their idealism to an extreme and seeing what the ramifications of that are, about societies that begin as utopias and fall apart. Early in the process, we had an idea, and that idea kind of formed around the Chicago 1893 World's Fair. And we're all kind of nerds and geeks in the office, and we're big on pop culture, we're big on science, we're big on history, and to us that was a really, really exciting period. If you look at that period in history, it's really the end of the old world. It's the end of the Renaissance, the end of medievalism, it's the end of kings and queens, and it's the beginning of a whole new world. You have new technologies coming online that just never existed before. For the first time, you can record people's voice, you can see images of people, and this is all very new. You have new societies forming, new ideas about politics, and it's a world where technology is seen as something that's going to be the savior of the world, that everyone's lives are going to be made better with technology. And it's an era before World War I where it was really proved that technology has a darker side. And so we just got very excited about that. And the World's Fair was this exhibition where people came from everywhere to bring these cool ideas together and show them off. And we thought, well, what if the World's Fair came to you instead of you going to it? And so we created a situation where they had this floating World's Fair that would go from place to place. And really the idea just grew from there.
And so, if there's one particular feature in this game that you're most excited about players experiencing, what would that be?
Sure, I would have to say it's the skylines. Ken Levine, our creative director, he basically wanted to create an experience of riding on a roller coaster at 100 miles an hour with a gun in your hand. And that was step one. So we created that feeling, but that wasn't enough. I really felt like we had to create something that was more than just a zip line, more than just a rail ride, because I felt like that would be something that would be a failure for us. So what we did was instead we looked at it and decided, how can we make it so that it opens up possibilities? You jump from line to line to line. So if you notice in that demo, those are all live lines. You can jump from line to line whenever you want. When he's playing through that demo, he's actually flying that thing, and you'll notice little markers that he looks for while he's playing. And when he sees those markers, he knows that's where he's going to land. You can end up on rooftops, you can end up on zeppelins, you can end up on other lines. So it really opens up a whole new series of possibilities while navigating the space.
An amazing time at this year's E3, and the one thing I can say is that it's just made me so positive and excited about the year ahead for gaming. But you know what? I've got a few minutes left, so I think I'm just going to play a little bit more Assassins. Let's go. All right.
I'm sorry, it's over. It's finished.
What?
It's time. I'm sorry. If you can put your headphone down, please. Thank you.